screen the presentation. And I want to start by, I guess, introducing myself. So my name's Eloise King. Here I am up on the screen. I am the founder of Soul Sessions. I studied psychology at the University of Sydney, and I worked as a journalist for the country's largest selling newspapers for almost 15 years. Here is me. That's me with my partner up in the top right-hand corner next to Wayne Dyer. So I've been able to work with some amazing people through, the journey of Soul Sessions. There's Wayne Dyer. I interviewed him in Hyde Park about 2 years ago. Deepak Chopra over on the left. I spent some really interesting time with him. Down on the bottom left-hand corner, there's Max and me playing a game of headbands in the living room. And down in the bottom middle, that's Parker, our new dog. We're very happy to have him as an addition to our family. So that's a little bit about me before we kick off. And then we have Justine Ruzcek, our principal mentor at Soul Sessions. Here she is up on the screen, absolutely beautiful human being up on the right-hand side with her partner Don. In the middle, presenting at Soul Sessions on stage. Over on the left with Dr. Joe Dispenza, one of her greatest teachers. And down below with Pip, one of our beautiful Soul Goal members. Over on the right with Doggy Labrador. And on the left, I don't know, I might leave Juzzy to explain that pic. You want to say a quick hello, Juzzy?
Hi everyone, thanks so much for joining us. Normally I live about 2 streets away from Eloise in Sydney, but I happen to be in Minnesota, so I'm a bit closer to Gina in Vancouver and one of the other people in Portland, Oregon. So it's about -10 here. Hope you guys are enjoying the summer.
Yeah, isn't technology amazing? So just a little bit about Juzzy. She's a veterinary surgeon, qualified veterinary surgeon, not practicing anymore. She's Soul Sessions principal mentor, as we mentioned at the beginning, and most importantly for today, she is a yoga teacher, she is a teacher of meditation, but she's a new science and meditation change expert, which is what we're going to be exploring today. So the first thing we want to do is address the first promise for today's webinar by answering the following question. What is the number one place you should start when planning to make 2015 your best year yet? We're at that critical point in our year where we get the opportunity to transition into 2015 feeling really great, empowered, and knowing that we've got an amazing 12 months ahead. So the big question is, what's the number one place you should start? And the answer is at the very end of 2015. Now, Juzzy, before we get into the new science that delivers us the how to make this happen, you're going to talk to us a little bit about a man who's very dear to our hearts, one of our greatest success authors of all time, Mr. Napoleon Hill. So can you tell us a little bit about the important wisdom he offers us for those wanting to create a big, awesome, love-fueled life in 2015?
Absolutely, Elo. If you guys haven't ever read, sorry, I'm just getting a bit of feedback here. If you guys have never heard of Napoleon Hill, I really encourage you to go out and have a look at his work. But for me, everything changed. I've been working with the law of attraction for a long time, doing lots of meditations, and it wasn't until I came across his very specific invitation to become very clear about your definite chief aim or make very clear decisions by putting a date on the things that you want to create in your life, by creating measures of success and taking action steps, that I was able to kind of bring all of the information I'd learned about, I guess, the science of the law of attraction and quantum physics into actually getting results. So he's one of my favorite teachers. And then the coolest thing was that once I started reading his book, which he wrote in like 1927, I think, I realized that everything I'd been learning from the point of view of neuroscience and quantum physics, he was actually talking about this almost 100 years ago. So
amazing.
I just adore him, and I love how much of a visionary he was.
So before you engage in any planning at all, the very first step is to get crystal clear on what you want. And Napoleon Hill calls this the definite chief aim, right? We think that it's important to take it one step further and define it as a soul goal. So not just something that, not just any old goal that you're not really going to be amazed about if you actually hit it, but something that makes you feel really, truly alive and inspired, and to have it because it's a desire that's truly yours. So let's move on and get into the new science. Today we've promised 3 key new science principles that separate those who are actually true creators of a conscious reality and those who are not. So the first one is from the field of quantum physics. The world exists as waves of possibility. Those on the line who have done our Soul Goal Mentoring Group workshop will know all about this, but the reality that you're experiencing right now is actually your choice. So Jazzy, can you talk to that for a bit?
Absolutely, thanks. Really, what we want to do is take everybody's understanding beyond the idea that this world is just physical. You know, I think it's a pretty old-fashioned way of looking at the world now, but it's very much how most of us grew up. I guess we have this slide here where this woman seems to be living in a world that seems to be kind of chaotic and out of control. A lot of people's existence feels like this, that they're just kind of moving through life hoping that they survive. So it's kind of based on survival. Everything we're looking to invite people to consider is that the world is actually not just physical, but it exists at this what we call quantum level, or more than the physical reality. And once you start to look at the world from that perspective, that there's absolute potential and possibility in everything, you sort of really move on to an experience where hopefully you're looking more like this next woman in the next slide, where you're pretty happy, pretty excited, because where you begin to, she's sort of pointing there, but where you place your attention, where you begin to direct your thoughts, your emotions, and your energy, actually begins to interact with the world around you, and this idea that you might even be able to begin to create your own reality. So quantum physics is an invitation to look beyond the physical, to start to look at the idea that everything is made of something more than just the physical reality. So some of you may never have thought about this before, I guess. Maybe a lot of you, just your awareness has only ever been that you are this body, and you may have asked a few questions about the idea that there may be something greater, but never really known how to explain it or ground it in your understanding. So I did all of this exploration myself. You know, this is a personal journey I've been on, and once I started to understand it, I fell in love with it, and my favorite thing is to share it. So the way that I look at it is this: I started to explore my body, and I invite all of you to take your awareness there with me, and to understand that, yes, you do exist in this physical body, that's very true, but let's kind of explore it step by step and have a look at your body that's made of organs. So there's organ systems, your body's systemized, and those organs, if we looked at the next level down at a smaller level of them, we know that they're made of tissues. You can have a look at the tissues underneath a microscope, and once you start to do that, you realize that everything in your body is just made of cells and fluid. These cells and fluid are just collections of molecules if you're looking at an even smaller level. Hopefully most people have done a little bit of basic science at high school, and they might remember that all of the molecules are just one or more atoms. So most people understand that the world is made of atoms. Now, if you ever do come and hang out with us and work with us, you'll find I like to hang out in a place where, I hope you guys don't mind me swearing a little bit, I like to say shit gets weird. Because I don't like to hang out in the norm, I like to hang out on the edge of possibility and the edge of reality. And what we find out, what science discovered when they started to have a look at the atom, was that each atom is actually a little bit particle or material, and also it's made of space or energy that's holding those little bits of subatomic particles together. Now the cool thing is, or if you like the thing where things get really weird, is that every atom is actually made of 99.99% energy, or 99.9 to 13.9% energy or space or information, and only 0.000 with 14 decimal places, 1% matter. So have a look, think about this, guys. Like, you stand in front of the mirror and you see your physical body as a reflection of who you are. But that's actually only 0.00001% of who you are. Pretty fascinating stuff. I wanted to know, if there's 99% of me that I can't even see, where is that 99% and how can I tap into it? Because I reckon there'd be a lot of information and a lot of energy sitting in sort of that level of who I was. So first of all, we want to invite people to think beyond the physical, that there's even more than physical. And there's two ways of looking at it. We've got this vehicle that we're using, which we describe as the brain and the body, and that is 99% energy as well. But not only is there this vehicle, there's a reality around us that we're interacting with, and that also exists at the quantum level. So there's this great, great statement that one of my favorite teachers, Dr. Joe Dispenza, talks about. If you've never heard of him, please Google him. You'll absolutely love his work. And he says, and a lot of people who teach this stuff talk about the fact that where we place our attention is where we place our energy. So we explore this view of the quantum world around us and our own experience as all energy-based, what we talk about frequencies of energies or vibrations of energies. So you guys have an image here on the slide in front of you, hopefully, that you can see. And I'm asking you or inviting you to think about yourselves in this moment, the now, the waking up stage where you start to realize that the world is more than just physical. There's a past that sort of you can think of behind you, but ahead of you is literally pure potential. Now we explore the concept that your vehicle is both a radio tower that's producing a vibrational signal out, and the world around you is sending a signal back. So your vehicle is also a radio receiver. And as you move through life, the quantum view of the world doesn't talk about sort of past and future linear lives. What it talks about is the world ahead of you being potential streams of life that you can enter into based on frequency or vibration. And these are sort of stacked on top of each other. It's a fascinating way to view the world, and it's very empowering because it turns out that we can choose which stream of life we're experiencing moment to moment to moment. Now, the way that we tune in to the life around us, well, it's not just based on your thoughts, and a lot of people who work with the law of attraction think it's just about your thoughts. But the most important thing I'd love everyone to know, even if this is the one takeaway from this webinar, is that it's your emotions are where it's at. You interact with the world around you based on emotions. So just moving on to the next slide, really I get excited about people starting to think about the world from the point of view of them being the absolute master or the driver of their vehicle. The first step that we go through in Soul Goal is that to ask you to understand your vehicle. So I guess the analogy I use with a lot of clients is that I see people kind of driving down the road out of control. No one ever told them how to drive the car, and by the way, it's a manual car they're driving, you know, so they're bunny hopping all over the place, hitting off a bunch of rear view mirrors, and kind of I ask them to pull over and they kind of fall out of the car with maybe wearing a neck brace or exhausted, you know. No one ever told them A, how their vehicle runs, or B, what the road rules were for where they're driving around. So what we love is to invite you to sort of step out of everything on this weekend we spend together, and we say, look, just hop out for a second, step away from your normal reality, and let's go back to basics. You know, I'd like you to step out of the vehicle, and sort of the analogy I use is don't press the accelerator and the brake at the same time. It's not going to work for you. You've got to use the clutch. Don't drive for 5 years in first gear, you know. And so we explore your vehicle, and your vehicle is your brain and your body, and how that creates your personal experience reality. Once we understand how the brain and the body work, then we go into sort of sending you back out into the world with this new way of looking at the world. Now, you know, if someone pulled me over because I was driving kind of crazy and asked me to reprogram everything on how I drove this vehicle, I wouldn't hop back in and go straight off and become a Formula One driver straight away, you know. So I'm really passionate about people understanding that this is a new way of looking at how they're experiencing their own version of themselves, how they're experiencing their life around them. And to be really patient with the process. It's a reprogramming, a rewiring. And once you do that, not only do you understand the way that your own vehicle wires itself, so how your brain's wired, how it interacts with your body, but also we want to have a look at the rules around you, the road rules. And that's really taking that into the quantum physics of things, how the universal field works around you, how it feeds back.
Amazing. So I wanted to take a minute and actually talk to everybody, get some feedback from everybody on the line. This is kind of the first area of new science that we're looking at. And I'm wondering if everybody can just type in how it makes them feel to understand that they can choose the reality, even if it's the first time that they've heard it. Because I know when I first started to look at this, it actually made me really angry. I was like, what do you mean I chose to have an anxiety disorder? Or what do you mean, But when you kind of get past that and get into the fact that you can be the conscious creator of your life with all of these principles, how does it make you feel to know that you're empowered to choose your reality? So I'm just going to head over to the chat box and see what people have to say. Okay. Brooke Chiller says, awesome. Fiona Chadwick says, hello, Fee. Lovely to have you here. Curious and excited. Marilla Dan, excited. Joe, empowered and excited and a little scared. Yes, because you're 100% responsible. Lisa Collins, awesome. And let's have a look. Awesome and completely natural. Awesome, Lisa. That's fantastic. Peter, it's something I know, but I'm not executing on. So great. I'm not executing on. Such a great reminder and exciting to change that. Fantastic. Lauren, excited and free. And they keep coming in. Tom Hyder, empowered, real, and very centered. Exactly right. Lizzie Moore, love it and feel more patience for myself currently. Excellent. So there's so many. I'm just going to scroll down to the bottom.
Fantastic. Thanks for your engagement, guys.
Yeah, it's really awesome. So Sarah Thompson, very excited. Tell me more. All right, we will. So I'm sorry if I didn't get to your comments, but we have a limited amount of time today. So let's just head back to the presentation. So we've heard about the quantum field and a little bit from quantum physics. The second key principle we want to talk about is from neuroscience. So your brain is created with every thought that you think, literally. You can choose which thoughts you put into your brain. So I'm going to hand it over to Juzzy to explain that to us.
Great, thanks, Elo. So everyone online, I'd love you to know that a lot of the stuff we're exploring today, especially these three key principles, literally only became understood in the last 20 or 30 years. Science has a fantastic, science does one thing really well, and that's make sweeping statements that turn out to be quite wrong in the future. So I love, again, playing around in those new places where we're discovering things. So again, once we start to firstly accept that the world is vibrational around us and that it's greater and filled with more potential than we ever could have realized, then I want everyone to come in and become the master of their system first. Just begin to understand what the brain is and what the body is before you go out into that reality to start to change it. Because really the external reality, it turns out, is a reflection of everything internally. If you can't change your brain and your body, you won't be able to change your reality outside of you. So here's one of the best ways of looking at things that I've found really, really liberating. I'd love everyone to understand you are not your brain. You're using a brain. You are not your body. You're using your body to experience life. But what is the mind and what is consciousness? So your brain is the squashy grey thing in your head. If I took your brain out of your head and put it next to you on the table, it's not going to do very much. And neither are you, really, because I just took your brain out, right? But your brain, when it's in your body and it's active, produces thoughts. These are electrical impulses along nerve pathways in the grey matter and the architecture of your brain. So you have a bunch of happy thoughts. You have a happy state of mind. So we talk about the mind as being the brain in action. The brain, when it has thoughts, creates the mind. But here's the cool thing, or where I like to talk about shit getting weird. Your consciousness, like your awareness, your unique consciousness is separate to both your brain, the physical brain in your head, and the mind that's produced when your brain is in action. How do we know this? So think about this. You can observe your thoughts. You can separate yourself from the thoughts that you're thinking, turn around, analyze them and go, wow, thinking those thoughts are making me feel bad. Not only can you observe your thoughts, you can change them. You can realize you're thinking a certain thought pathway and redirect your thoughts, and soon you'll be thinking differently, which will make you feel differently, which will probably drive different behaviors and actions. Does everyone know how amazing that is? I really want to swear a lot here, but I don't know who's online. So absolutely, I'll say freaking amazing. You guys can change the function of an organ in your body simply by paying attention to it. It's absolutely incredible. So your consciousness is this non-local thing that's greater than your brain and your body. Now, Ella, if you could just go to 2 slides down, please. We want to explore the other big concept called neuroplasticity. So they discovered over the last 10 or 20 years that the brain is actually plastic. It can change and it can grow. And this concept called neuroplasticity was only discovered about 20 years ago, because really we grew up being told, I don't know if any of you guys remember, that your brain was fixed or rigid or permanently wired by the time you got to the age of 25 or 30. And so if you did any damage to it, it couldn't grow or heal. Please, all of you guys online or anyone listening later on, know that your brain is incredible and it can grow and it can change. If we just go back up to the slide before this, Elo, just like a garden. Your brain is organic and it can grow and change in incredible ways. So a big lot of the work that we do is around this concept of neuroplasticity. Again, one of my favorite teachers of this is Dr. Joe Dispenza. And there's another book called The Brain That Changes Itself. If you want to explore it, you can read that. We'll just go 2 slides down, please, before we move on. Actually, 3 down. I'd like to tell you guys about this concept of neuroplasticity through this amazing research they did with a bunch of people learning to play the piano. So they got a bunch of people to play the piano who'd never learnt before, and they scanned their brain before and after. And they found, after rehearsing for a little while, that people's brains grew, and they describe it in this scientific research paper. They describe it as dandelions on a front lawn, that your brain can change and grow when you're learning a new skill. This is amazing, right? But then, my favorite place, shit got really weird. They got a second group of people to just imagine they were playing the piano. And those people's brains changed to the same degree as the people who actually lifted their fingers. So this is a fascinating thing to know when you're starting to work with your own brain. If you could go up to the slide before this, please, Elo. What I'd love you guys to know is that you can start to explore your own mind and your own brain if you have a concept of it. And again, I like to systemize things. I like to have drawings or symbols or maps to things. And this is a way of looking at your mind, for you guys to access your mind. And it turns out that your subconscious mind, your beliefs, your habits, your learned patterns of behaviors, you've memorized them. They've all been created as part of who you are. But for most people, for everyone in fact, there's 2 ways that your subconscious mind can be created. The first way is by information that's just pouring in willy-nilly from your environment, from the people and the things that they say to you, the places, the things that you see around you, the media, you know. If you're not aware, if you're not conscious, if you haven't sort of woken up, then you're going to be living your life and your brain's going to be creating itself by the thoughts that you think about things automatically without any awareness. What we're fascinated by and what we're interested in is turning off that tap of the environment and moving into this state of being a conscious creator of not only your own life, but first of all, it starts with literally, like those piano players, literally creating your own brain. Neuron by neuron, thought by thought, emotion by emotion, creating your own experience.
It's amazing stuff.
So yeah, exploring neuroscience as a tool for personal change is absolutely amazing. What I want everyone to know is that there are some key concepts that are super simple to apply. You don't have to get overwhelmed. Your brain is extraordinarily complex, but you as the awareness can use some very, very simple tools to master it.
Amazing, Josie. Thank you. So just to take a minute to recap, I'm going to also ask everybody to go back to their control panel and just tell us how you feel, or, you know, what light bulb moments you're having at the moment from that very kind of basic principle from neuroscience that we are not our brain. We actually can be the master of our brain. It's an organ that we have to use, and that by filling it with thoughts that we consciously choose, we can change our reality. So I'm just going to head over to the control panel for a minute and see what people are coming in with. Okay. So let's have a look. Gina Carpenter says, please do swear. I don't mind.
Hey, Gina, you're in Vancouver. I remember that. We're both cold, so I might swear about the weather.
She also says, is there a difference between imagining yourself in first person versus third person? Are they equivalent to doing something in reality? I tend to visualize myself in the third person. We might just save questions for the very end. We do have time for a few questions at the end, but we'll just save that one. But thank you very much, Gina. We'll come back to that. Brooke Chiller says it's scary. Peter Nelson, simple but not always easy, but freaking exciting. Another very conservative language piece of language choice. Sarah Thompson, I guess we know this, but the hard part seemingly is putting it into practice. Yes, that's very true. Lisa Collins, our brains are receivers. We just need to tune into the right channels. Love everything so far happening on the webinar. Thanks, Lisa, for your positive feedback. It's great. Lisa, oh no, done that one. Okay, so they're all coming in as well. We might move on again. I'm just aware about time. But we'll head back to the third key principle. Just let me head back to this. Okay. So the third key principle we've taken from the field of epigenetics, which again is a fascinating field of study and very, very new and still emerging. Our genes can be turned on and off. We determine our genetic expression through diet, through lifestyle, and through thought choices. So again, we have this idea that we're empowered. We are the empowered decision maker, and we can become the master of our own reality. So Jazzy, I'll throw it over to you to explain all of that.
Thanks, Elo. This is really important, first of all, because epigenetics literally is the mind-body connection explained through science. It's not just a concept anymore. We know exactly how the mind's interacting with the body. And the other reason it's really important, because for a lot of people, the external reality is really important. They may be in debt, and what they want to change in their external reality is a sensation of wealth, or they may feel like they're off purpose, and what they want to bring in are job opportunities to create, an experience in reality. But also a lot of people that come through this work, the most important thing to them is their state of health. It's all relative to every individual that we work with, and if you've got a bunch of money but there's a tumor inside you, then your attention is in a very different place. And so it's really important that everyone not only understands how their brain is involved in their personal reality, but also your body. So again, science, 10 or 20 years ago was making a sweeping statement that the genes were the brain of the cell, and that we had no control over the genes in each cell. So it turns out that that's completely wrong. Well done, science. You did it again. But again, it all just happens because we didn't have the tools to measure things, and also we just hadn't been looking in the right place. So if anyone wants to dive into this stuff further, my favorite teacher of this is a guy called Dr. Bruce Lipton, another beautiful, crazy scientist who's living on the edge of reality and what we know. And I don't want anyone to be overwhelmed by this again. Keep it super simple. Every single person has cells in their body, and almost every cell in your body has DNA in it. DNA is information that creates proteins. So I can use DNA or genes interchangeably. Genes, in the slide that you guys are looking at, it should show, sorry, it's taken away a couple of brackets, but what that should show is that a gene is just a little section of DNA. So I've got two little sections of DNA to represent two little genes. Now your genes are the code for a protein, and your levels of protein, your quality of protein, how much proteins are produced at what time, that determines your health. Proteins are responsible for our structure in our body. Proteins are responsible for our function. So therefore, our levels of protein and our amounts and quality are responsible for our state of health. So it really comes back to the question, what's turning the genes on and off? So what I love to invite everybody to consider is, you are the parent to the cells of your body. It's no longer a separate thing where your body is running itself. What we now know is the DNA in your cells, the genes in your cells function according to the information that that cell is receiving from its direct environment. Every cell of your body on a moment-to-moment basis is experiencing an environment directly around it. And here it goes. And by the way, a lot of the stuff we do, guys, once you know it, you can't go backwards. So if you don't want to find out about this stuff, block your ears now. The truth is that you are the one creating the environment that your cells are in. There's really 3 ways that you can affect the way your genes function. We know that diet and nutrition affect the output of your cells and the environment that they're in. That's a no-brainer, really. Your lifestyle choices, where you choose to place your body, how much you choose to move your body around, what you choose to do with it, you know, that definitely affects your gene output. And here's a fantastic piece of research that they did with 2 groups of people that had been diagnosed with pancreatic cancer. They measured the function of 500 genes with these people who diagnosed on pathology had pancreatic cancer, and 500 genes were functioning in a particular way. Then they put these guys on a regime of diet and exercise for 5 weeks, absolutely no radiotherapy, absolutely no chemotherapy. At the end of 5 weeks, they measured the same genes, and 500 of those genes had changed their output just by diet and nutrition. So they'd increased some protein production for the immune system, decreased some harmful protein production. It was absolutely incredible. Dr. Dean Ornish is a nutritionist and a doctor in the States doing a whole bunch of research in that, if you're interested. So we know that diet and lifestyle choices definitely affect the state of health that your cells receive, but where I love to hang around in is the absolute state of mastery, because if you look at it, if you need to change your diet and nutrition, and some of your questions up until now have referenced this, we all know we should eat better. We all know we should exercise more, but why is it so hard? So where we fall in love with this process is number 3. How do you become the conscious creator of your thoughts and your emotions? Because they are not only driving your choices for diet and lifestyle, but your thoughts and emotions are also creating an inner chemical environment that your cells are experiencing on a moment-to-moment basis. And that's literally affecting your gene function on a moment-to-moment basis. It's affecting your protein expression, and it's therefore affecting your state of health. So once you find out how to master your mind, become the master of your thoughts, change your emotional chemical state within your body, you can become the master of your health. And that's one of the 3 key principles that absolutely can change your reality.
So what are the biggest mistakes people make when they're trying to interact with the quantum field?
Having worked with hundreds of people now, Ello, I've been able to witness things from every angle. And really, for myself, even I made this huge mistake. I learned about this stuff called the law of attraction. I really believed in it, but I wasn't getting the big results. And it wasn't until I read the stuff with Napoleon Hill, where he talks about getting very, very specific about a goal and setting what we call a definite chief aim. So making a firm decision is one of the biggest mistakes that people make by not doing it. So a lot of the questions that you guys typed in the last thing was, it all sounds very simple. Yeah, really great. We know we should, but
Juzzy, we've lost your audio. Juzzy, are you there? And we've got some music. What is going on here? How bizarre. That was the most bizarre thing ever. We've lost audio with Juzzy, but I'm sure she will come back in a minute. I think one of the things she was going to say is, it's about getting clear once you understand how to consciously create your reality. It's about having that absolute that clarity around what your soul goal is and what your definite chief aim is. But the second biggest mistake that people make is trying to consciously create a future that they want without understanding how to clear away the old gunk efficiently. So we're all kind of a product of our history and our thoughts and our behaviors up to now. But
ahead of you, but you also have to have tools and techniques to be able to deal with the emotions that might come up. Can you hear me?
I can hear you now. That was the most bizarre few minutes, but let's keep going. So we've basically just done number 2, trying to create without understanding how to clear away the old gunk efficiently. Right?
Am I back on? Can you hear me?
You're back on. You're 100% here.
Okay. Sorry, I just wanted to say, people don't use tools and techniques to clear away the old emotions. So a lot of the questions that were coming through were, how do I free myself from emotions? And there's some amazing techniques and tools these days available that allow you to work with your emotions and to move through your past, above and beyond what they used to do in the 80s and 90s of sitting in therapy for 4 years.
Yeah.
We want to be able to move through stuff more quickly.
Yeah. So awesome. So the big question is, how do you get clear on what your true soul goal is? We tend to get 2 groups of people coming to us. One group of people has a very, very clear idea about exactly what they want. It may be that they haven't had a relationship for a long time that's really fed them, and they want to meet a soulmate. They want to be in a long-term relationship. It may be that they've really been trying to crack kind of the abundance equation, and they haven't been able to do that, but they know that they want to double their income or increase their income or whatever it might be, to have a life that is truly theirs and full of good life abundance, where they're free and they can make decisions that they want to in life. There's a myriad of things. So some people are really clear about what they want. And then the second group of people, and I would say this is probably the larger group, to be honest, know that there's something not quite right about their current experience of their reality, but they don't know exactly what it is they need to do to change it. So they don't have clarity. But they know that there's something missing. So the big question is, how do people get clear on what their true soul goal is, and how do they know what that thing is that's missing, and how do they know how to kind of improve their experience of reality? So one of the ways you can do it is you can use a journal and go through some processes that we actually kind of experienced during the Soul Goal weekend as well. This journal here that's on the screen is called Planning for a Big Awesome Love Fueled 2015. We haven't offered this before, but we've put it together specifically for people that are thinking about joining our Soul Goal mentoring group, the weekend workshop, in either February or March next year. And this basically takes people through a number of the processes that we then go further with in the weekend, but it gets people starting to just hone in on what might be really important to them and where they might like to start thinking about their definite chief aims for 2015. Like, what is going to make 2015 feel big, awesome, and completely love-fueled? Because that's what we're all looking for, right? So some of the pages, I've just kind of done a bit of a collation of some of the pages in here. In fact, I might just jump over to the actual book. Okay, I'll scroll back through it. So here is the actual planner. that people who sign up for Soul Gold will be given. And there's some very definite steps that people can work through. It starts with a meditation. So we have a downloadable meditation that Juzzy has put together that is about getting very present, because you don't want to be making your definite chief aims or your soul goals from a place that isn't truly your own. So it's about coming in, being in your body, feeling very present, and then we move out to the soul goal creation process from there. So there's a number of steps there that you can move through. We then also ask you to move into your December 31, 2015. So start with the very end in mind and describe what your experience is on that day. It says here it's December 31st next year. You're walking down the street in your local area and you bump into, of all people, yourself. So we want you to go forward, like imagine the things that would make 2015 be amazing for you, and write that out, feel it, be in the experience, have it as though it's yours already. We do that with, again, there are processes like mind mapping, which we don't have time to go into fully here. Wheel of life, there are lots of areas of our life that we can potentially hone in on: health, money, career, physical environment, our home, personal growth, romance, family. There's lots of different areas. What we don't want to be doing, and the point of setting a definite chief aim, is so that you are not trying to make everything happen all at once. So, by doing something like the Wheel of Life, you can get really, really clear about where you are now, and also select, based on this physical representation of your life, which are the areas that you might want to pull out as the most important for 2015, so that you can start to set really clear and efficient and, important soul goals. So, and then in this planner, there's just a whole lot of, space to kind of explore what all of that is. This I wanted to talk about for just 1 minute. An important diagram if you are going to actually have a 2015 that you can't wait to talk about on December 31, So top right-hand quadrant here, we've got the word destination. Now, that is everything that we've been talking about. So you want to start with the end in mind, start with 2015, December 31, looking back on your year. What are the things that you want to be able to create? Like, what's going to make 2015 amazing? If you can say, tick that box, tick that box, tick that box. Down in the bottom right-hand quadrant, you have the word responsibility. Now, we've touched on this in today's webinar, but we haven't gone into it fully. Once you understand how your brain, your body, your mind, your consciousness, your everything works, how your emotional, the emotional state, how that's affecting your, it's very hard to make a big difference in your life unless you assume a state of 100% responsibility. Like, essentially, you are responsible for everything in your life right now. You have been the master creator, whether you knew how you were doing it or not. Whether you understand manifestation or you don't, you have been manifesting. The good news about all this new science that's coming along is we now know how to use our system, our vehicle. But the fact of the matter is, you're now 100% responsibility for all the great stuff, which is awesome when you get to the end of next year and you can say, look, I did that. I consciously created all the good stuff that I've experienced this year, but equally all the shitty stuff as well, which is a little harder to stomach sometimes, but it's harder to stomach because you don't like to say, yes, I chose an anxiety disorder, or yes, I chose a breakup with the love of my life, or yes, I have chosen to be poor for the past 10 years, whatever it might be. But it's empowering. Once you fully accept this responsibility, it's empowering because there are road rules and we know how to kind of create differently, a different reality. The next quadrant on the bottom left-hand side says collaboration. This is really important, and this is the energy that, we do a lot of new paradigm work here at Soul Sessions, and everything is moving towards collaboration and co-creation. All of us are evolving. All of us are learning. All of us are the student of our own life. When we know we want to get to the next step, the best way to do that is to look around, find out who has information or the next piece of the puzzle that we don't yet understand, and then team up with them and work with them, collaborate. We need to be working together. And then the final step on the top left-hand quadrant is the word movement. None of this will happen. You won't have your dream life reality in 2015 unless you're willing to take action. So that's just a really nice diagram of some of the key things that you need to understand. Where you're going, you need to have 100% responsibility as the creator in your own life. You need to collaborate with people that can help you get to where you want to go, and then you want to take action. So there's a meditation download. Yeah, so all right, so I'm just going to jump out of that planner and head back to the presentation. Okay, and we're going to get to some question times in a minute. But first, Soul Sessions is a collective of 1 million people choosing to consciously create a big, awesome and love-fueled life. Now, Juzzy and I sat in our HQ a little while ago and we set this as our definite chief aim for 2025. The big question, we're practicing what we preach. The big question is, do you want to be one of them? So the other promise that we had for this webinar was that we were going to share some stories from people that have come through Soul School this year, graduated from one of our programs, and really become the conscious creators in their own life. So I'm going to share with you a few of them here. We could quite literally do a full hour's webinar just with stories from people that have come through Soul School, but I've just selected a couple. I think we've got 3, maybe 4. Here's the question, will you be one of them? But so here, okay, we've got Stacey Randall. She's a beautiful member of our community. She's there on the left, the tall, blonde, hot, sexy looking thing. When Stacey started working in one of our Soul Sessions mentoring groups, she was working as the executive officer in a local chamber of commerce while building her own passion business on the side. In a very short period of time, she used the Neuroscience tools and strategies to achieve the following important wins. Firstly, she was able to very quickly attract a new and more financially rewarding job in less than 3 months. Now, this is quite a modest expression of what's going on here. She doubled her income with the attraction of that new job. She doubled her income. Her new financial freedom now allows her to live flatmate free. So she needed to have a rent buddy to be able to afford living where she does. And she can move forward confidently with plans to become a foster parent. Now, this is my favourite piece in all of this because Stacey has wanted to be a mum for a long time. And by getting more financially secure and abundant, she was able to really, tick a big life goal box for herself. And she has her first foster child coming to live with her any day now, actually, which is very exciting. And also her business has expanded into a whole new region of New South Wales. So just to quote her, "This course has changed my life," Stacey said. "Its foundational principles of quantum physics and neuroscience have caused me to shift the way I think, act, and feel about everything. Its foundational principles, the flow-through effect means I am now operating in a manner that is more in line with who I am at my core, which is reflected in the choices I make in business, my life as a whole, exactly what a girl needs when trying to save the world." Yay, Stacey. So that's a money goal that was achieved, I guess, through coming into Soul School. Relationships is another big area that, eludes some people. We've got Justine McKell here, a very good friend of mine and also sort of a student of a number of our programs. She says, "Hi, my name is Justine McKell. I'm so grateful to have been part of Soul Goal Mentoring Group experience. I've always made lists and goals about everything I want to achieve: lose weight, earn more money, find true love, blah, blah. The same thing goes on the annual list, and I kick myself for never getting to that ideal weight, income, or relationship. Being part of the Soul Goal program has been a true game changer for me. I've experienced my own very specific wins in areas that have always eluded me till now. Our Soul Goal mentor, Juzzy Rozchek, yay, has a wealth of knowledge, and being part of the Soul Sessions community Eloise has created to be able to follow everyone's aspirations and watch their wishes and desires come true is literally like experiencing magic in action. But it doesn't stop there. The weekly meetups and the private Soul Goal Facebook community online are awesome as well. A nice reminder to constantly connect back into the collective. Personal growth is vital to the success of any business and individual. I can't recommend Soul Sessions programs highly enough. So I also just wanted to mention that's her there. So Juzzy had struggled. She's got a kick-ass business. She's got an amazing social life, but she just struggled to find the love of her life, really, like a partner to be in a long-term relationship with. And it had been, quite a number of years since she'd had a relationship, and she came and did Soul Goal, and then she met this lovely guy, James, who you can see in the photo there, and they have been together for, I believe, about 7 months now, 6 or 7 months, and they're talking, making plans to move in together. And so that was a big tick, for the thing that was really eluding her. It was the hardest thing for her to kind of achieve. Matilda Wolska, beautiful Matilda. So I love this testimonial because Matilda had been trying to give up smoking for forever. It's a really hard habit to kick. Most people struggle with it in a major way. And so she'd been on and off and on and off. She'd tried and then she'd come back to it. She'd come back to it. Anyway, here she says, "Hi, I'm Matilda Wolska. Soul Goal Mentoring Group is so personally touching that I almost have a problem labeling it a course. There are no timelines to reach your goal. There is no competition, no wrong answers. I set my own path. It's an exploration of my own consciousness through the introduction of techniques and evidence that have made me aware of the ability I have to rewire my own brain and reprogram my habits." Very empowering, very empowering stuff. "It has taught me that with consistency, I am more than capable. It has shown me the importance of putting myself into an elevated state to achieve my goals, create, and most importantly, connect. And connected I have with the world around me and my gorgeous Soul Goal community. The sharing and support of the group is hugely uplifting. I'm pushing through just surviving to creating everyday magic. It's a much nicer way to live. Oh, and I also quit smoking." She just threw that little one in at the end. Thank you, Soul Goal. So there's another one. And actually, Deb Rowe, because of the time, I'm not going to go to her. I think she's on the webinar and she was going to have come on and have a little bit of a chat. But this is again, we've got it's a second kind of health goal that was set. Deb, I'll just read it out actually. "I've got problems with osteoarthritis and was told it would be a 6-year saga by a specialist and that I would need bilateral knee replacements within 5 years. I haven't had them, but goodness, the pain has been a real issue. I'd been taking strong doses of Panadeine 2 or 3 times a day. After I did the Soul Goal weekend, I went 3 or 4 days without a single dose. So my dosage of pain medication was substantially decreased thanks to the Soul Goal tools and practices." So she'd been on huge amounts of pain relief and then woke up one day and just realised that she hadn't actually taken a pill for 4 days. I've had to go back on some medication recently because I stopped my Soul Goal practice. The interesting thing for me was that there was a direct correlation between stopping the practice and me having to go back on the medication. So I thought that was an important point to share with you because it speaks to that last quadrant, which is movement and taking action. You need to be doing the work. It's all good and well, and Justine drives this home again and again and again. It's one thing to have the information, right, Juzzy, but it's another thing to do the work.
Absolutely, Elo. And Deb is just, a beautiful example. Another person, we get a lot of people coming who've been reading about this stuff for years and, done lots of philosophizing and theorizing about stuff, but never really taken the action. And one of my favorite things about Deb was she came into our weekly meditation one night and said that she was going for a walk and she walked on the beach. She had particularly bad knees as well. And she hadn't walked on the beach barefoot in years, and then found herself, I can't remember what happened, but she ended up running up some stairs, and it wasn't until she got to the top that she realized it had been years and years since she'd been able to run upstairs. And so
wow, that's amazing.
Life, pain, just things that some of us take for granted.
Yeah. So look, there's there's four examples of people that have come through and really made huge shifts in their life. The thing I wanted to say to to everybody on the line now, I think there was 183 people that were registered for today's webinar. You now have the opportunity to move from the unconscious driver of your vehicle to an empowered creator, which is just amazing. Like, this information is life-changing, and Justine is an incredible